I greet you from Zanesville, Ohio. Um, so I've been seeing a lot of stuff about making the choice that people were being asked to make a choice at this time, whether they want to serve the good or the bad, the light or the dark. And having went down the rabbit hole about gnosis and about the system that people are trapped in this reincarnation cycle on this prison planet, and that's one of the theories, the conspiracy theories. And and because my whole life, and I'm sure anybody watching this video as well, your whole life that you've heard about this great battle between the forces of good and the forces of evil, between God and the devil, and it's probably been terrifying if you had any kind of experiences with religion and the confusion and the terror that they implement into the hearts and minds of people at a very young age, might I add. They start implementing this fear of some mean ass uh, old man up in the sky looking down on you from his throne. And they terrify people with the hell and damnation and sin in their soul and all this stuff. It's terrifying. But at the end of it, they say that everybody has to make a choice. Who will they serve? Will they serve this kingdom of darkness, or will you serve this benevolent, sweet, kind, considerate, and compassionate, and loving God from your Bible? Or is there something else? Is there only choices that I have to make between this devil or this God? And is the God that I have to choose the guy from the Bible? The one with severe mood swings and a penchant to murder and sacrifice its own creations? Is that the one I got to choose? That light being, or the devil who fell from heaven after he wanted to be God, be like God? He wanted more, and that's not what happened. It's not what happened. And what I'm about to say is where I am in my journey and what I think what had occurred. And this is just where I'm at with my, a few weeks ago, I made the mistake of putting on somebody's page that there were two Marys, Jesus, Yeshua's mother, and also that of his lover and companion, the Magdalena. And come to find out, the Magdalena was the mother, period. And not even sure whether Yeshua was a female or a male at this point in time. I only know that they walked this earth. I know that they walked this earth, and I know it wasn't never about sin and damnation. The message was never about sin and damnation or any of that. It was because Yeshua taught something that was different. Yeshua spoke about the kingdom of heaven being within, spoke about, he laughed at his disciples when the disciples would reveal their dreams to him. And Yeshua would say, yeah, well, your God's going to be awful mad. Not his God, but their God. He laughed often at their silliness because he just, they really wasn't getting the message at that time. They really wasn't getting it. And I also seen a thing where Judas was the, not, he didn't, Jesus had pulled him to the side and told him what was really going on, and he just needed his help to implement the divine plan, and it was the least that Judas could do. I also saw some pictures recently of a dark colored skinned man And it was him, and he was the slave master, and his two slaves were down here, and they were white folks. So yeah, when they literally scattered everybody. I can't remember if it was 72 or 74 languages, but this misinformation, man, has, even more so affected my psyche in these 3 years of just the levels of confusion. Like, they'll be like, oh, well, there's 6 chakras. No, there's 8. Actually, there's 112. Who knows? Who knows? But here's what I'm trying to say. So you got this choice that they say everybody has to make. You want to go with God, or you want to go with this devil guy, this red horned bastard. You want to burn in hell for eternity and never join the kingdom of heaven, which I could never imagine. I could never imagine not knowing that I wasn't going to go home to the Pleroma someday. But anyway, that was what I was trying to also talk about, was what I had been learning about this choice between the light and the dark, and that when we pass on, when our spirit leaves our body upon death, and that during that really fragile time of a soul's journey is when they exit the body. So obviously there's a lot of confusion there, and this is when these beings that, what I've learned in these Gnosis teachings, was that these archonic beings created by Yaldabaoth, they did a number on humanity and enslaved them in this illusionary world that we inhabit, whatever, all together now for a really long time. The thing that these motherfuckers fear more than anything is your remembrance, baby. Every single time one of us remembers our divinity, every single time one of us remembers what it was before, that's what cracks this motherfucker open. That's what does it. So you have this big decision. Will you serve the light, or you serve the dark, or will you continue forward marching towards source, towards the Pleroma, and out of the chaos and into the light of source. I don't know if source is a male or a female. I think it's both. I think it's definitely both. And I think that it's nameless. There is no name for what I call the first great mystery. The creator of all things that have the spark, the peace of God in them. And even people and beings that we've heard are dark and evil, and they must have a spark of it in them too, because everything was backwards. They lied about everything. They turned it upside down. As above, so below. As within, as without. Namaste.